down. What secrets does it hold? Now, the IRS is going after servers' tips, and the Capitol building is stormed in Oklahoma. Did you hear about that? Probably not. And Disney Plus is ramping up its woke programming, even as Bob Iger lets go of 7,000 employees. What's up, guys? Welcome to the wrap-up, where we break down the biggest stories of the week that you might have missed, but definitely need to know. On Tuesday, the State of the Union took place where President Biden opted to take a little bit of a victory lap, touting the, quote, progress his administration has made, but stressing that the work of his administration was just beginning. Now, in his 73-minute riff, Biden touched on a range of issues. I'm talking about Medicare, Social Security, and his perceived wins for the American people, to also consumer issues like the elimination of so-called junk fees levied by airlines and hotels alike. He even touched on China, saying, quote, make no mistake, as we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did. Now, this declaration by the 46th president comes at an interesting time, and just days after a Chinese spy balloon was allowed to fly overhead the United States for nearly 48 hours before being shot down near the South Carolina coast. Interesting. Also on Tuesday, former White House press secretary and Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the youngest governor in America, delivered the Republican response to Biden's State of the Union, declaring that it was time for a new generation to lead. The dividing line between America, and this was a zinger, was no longer between the left and the right, but between normal and crazy. Let's listen in.
Whether Joe Biden believes this madness or is simply too weak to resist it, his administration has been completely hijacked by the radical left. The dividing line in America is no longer between right or left. The choice is between normal or crazy.
And guys, we'll see how these two addresses shape the political agendas, and we can only imagine that this is just the beginning of a lot more to come. Speaking of hot air, the Chinese spy balloon, well, let's talk about it. More information is coming out about the recently downed spy balloon from the State Department. This gets a little wonky. The Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday, and this information is coming directly from the Department of Defense and State Department, that the balloon carried antennas and sensors for collecting, and this is a quote from them, intelligence and communications as it flew over the Americas, prompting some serious fears and concerns as to what exactly China might have been successful in collecting. This wasn't your typical little balloon, especially as it relates to the secrets of national security on last week. In other news, the IRS might not be coming for billionaires anytime soon, but in the eyes of some, they do appear to be coming for service workers, waitresses. A new program unveiled by the IRS this past week coined the Service Industry Compliance Tip Agreement Program. Just imagine saying that 10 times fast. Would allow for the IRS to better crack down on the service industry's reporting of tips. Now, this move's come after the IRS was given $80 billion as a result of the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. And while those on the left argue that this infusion of cash would be used by the IRS to go after billionaire tax cheats, well, some have argued that this new program proposed by the agency shows that wasn't exactly all true. Mike Palacis, the federal affairs manager at Americans for Tax Reform, said in a tweet, quote, those 87,000 new IRS agents that you were promised would only target the rich, well, they're coming after waitresses now. Wow, quite the revelation there. February 7th, have you heard of it? Probably not as famous as January 6th, but that was the day that this week a mob of transgender activists stormed the Oklahoma Capitol building in response to Republicans lawmakers' plans to ban gender reassignment surgery for children, because that is just oh so controversial. It was quite the scene, to say the least. Let's take a look. We have footage here. Now, some folks on Twitter asked the question, challenging the double standard. Imagine if Republicans had done something like this. They'd be in jail by sundown. One last thing before we go. Well, it's time for your news to know. The Disney cartoon The Proud Family has been the source of much controversy this week, with several clips of the reboot going viral, demonizing police, denigrating interracial relationships, and proclaiming America to be a nation built upon the bedrock of slavery. It's like you're watching MSNBC. This story is a bit personal to me, I have to admit. I grew up on The Proud Family and I remember it fondly. It wasn't a show that was political or anti-white or anti-police. It was just a kid's show. It was just a cartoon. But this reboot is anything but. Just take a look at this clip.
Why are you in riot gear? We're y'all. Here come Wizard Kelly and his goons. P, stand your ground.
Why are you right here? We don't see the
Intimidate us.
Barry, don't just stand there. Do something.
Let's go.
They're gonna arrest our base. Do something with your white privilege.
And while some might have thought the politicization of Disney was over following the return of Bob Iger, the company who expressed regret for the company's decision to wade into the political arena, that doesn't appear to be the case. However, one must wonder, after announcing the layoff of more than 7,000 employees and making $5.5 billion in spending cuts, when will Disney finally begin to read the writing on the wall that once you go woke, you'll probably go broke? Well, guys, that is all for us this week. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and share this video, and be sure to subscribe to PragerU.com and download the PragerU app. I'm CJ Pearson, and I'll see you guys next Friday on the wrap-up. Have a great weekend from me to you, live from PragerU. Hey guys, I'm CJ Pearson. To keep videos like this free, please consider making a tax-deductible contribution today, right here on